Welcome to the swamp. What the hell is going on here? God damn, I just can't even. Anyway, you might be wondering what this small indie RPG that just kinda came out of the blue is all about. I'm not sure either. Let's find out. My name is Excalligator. I rate games based on many categories that would fit into most survival games, based on a 1 to 5 system. If a category does not apply, it will not affect the game's overall score. Now let us get started. The Bloodline is a single-player, semi-open-world RPG with an emphasis on player freedom with inspiration from games like Morrowind. The trailer alone got me interested, and I was excited to see what else this game had to offer besides what we were shown. I'm not really sure how to define this. On one hand, it needs a decent CPU, though the GPU required is not really as strong. Even with that being stated, myself and others have had a rough time running this smoothly. For some people, it just won't run at all, and for others, it's choppy. Myself, I've only had a few issues with it. It wasn't unplayable, but we'll talk more about it in the bugs and lag section. The character creation is decent enough, basic really, but not terrible. I do find it weird that there are no beardless options for men, but that didn't bother me as I wanted a nice bushy beard anyway. You even have scar options, which is nice. I saw body marking color, but there was no war paint or tattoo option, so that will probably be later on, or it's hidden in the world. I've yet to find it. Either way, it's basic, and I'm just gonna rate it a 3 out of 5. The game starts off with a small fly-through cutscene, then you are thrown into the world, within your castle. That's right, this is not rags to riches. You start off in a castle due to your bloodline, which is the namesake of the game. However, it is in disarray due to your father not being a strong leader, so it's your chance to go out and forge your own path. You can choose to rebuild the castle and be friendly to the various towns and cities, or you could choose to be a marauder and a thief. The playstyle is completely up to you. You have a few quests to start off with in the castle itself, which helps you get a bit accustomed to the game and how it overall works. The quests serve some of them as teaching tutorials, though you do have pop-up ones as well. I think they are a little bit shitty due to the fact that all of the text in the game is hard to see. I'm not sure if it was the size or the color, or if I was just having trouble reading it. I'm not really sure, but the tutorials that popped up left so fast for me, I wasn't able to read them anyway, and there's no way to look them up after either. So yeah, I didn't really like the tutorial system for several reasons. Overall, I say it's a decent enough start, though the teaching methods need to be tweaked heavily, and just the font in general throughout the entirety of the game needs to be increased slightly and given a deeper stroke line to be more visible. This section, I'm just going to rate it a 3 out of 5. Okay, so there's an elephant in this room, which I'm going to talk about first. This game is not fully open world, and with the type of game this is, I feel that this is an absolute crime. You have segments of the game that you can explore freely, but to travel between the segments, you are forced into an overworld top-down view to travel. This is completely immersion breaking for me, especially when the loading up of this overworld takes 5 to 10 seconds each. It also hurts because there's no actual map for you to pull up and look at in the game, only the overworld map. So every time you dismiss it, even if you stayed in the same location that you did and didn't leave, it will always throw you back to the spawning point of that area. So if you wanted to know how far away you were from something particular within that locale, do not pull up the overworld map to check it out, or it's gonna send you right back to the spawn and you will lose all of that distance. I'm sorry, but this is by far my biggest pet peeve about this game, and I hope the developer reconsiders this idea. I know it's just one guy developing this game, but if you say you were inspired by Morrowind, then make it open world like Morrowind, not segmented. Anyway, that was my rant. Now let's talk about the good things, because there's a lot here that are in fact very good. Within the various segmented areas themselves, you have free roam. You can find ore nodes, you can find trees to chop down, fishing spot. Enemies within the area seem to have a designated spawning locale, but they might not always be the same type or in the same quantity. An example is, let's say the base of a staircase. Goblins will always spawn when you revisit this staircase, but the type of goblins and the amount of them will be different. And on rare occasions, you can have rare enemies that spawn as well that might not always be there. Sometimes out in the world, you can have random encounters too that are not always present. Within the various landmarks, you can find not only treasure to loot, but caves, small dungeons, even skills that you can find, which we'll talk about more about skills in the PvE section. Traveling overall is very fun. You have tons of traversal methods you can use. You can shapeshift if you want, or you can just run. You have mounts with various speed options as well, and a grappling hook to help climb and swing. I've also used it to help slow my fall so I don't die from falling. There is even a wall running skill where you can run on the side of the wall for as long as your stamina can handle. It feels very good too. Now, one issue I did have was the climbing. The climbing is not responsive and it fails to work 90% of the time. Even then, it's faster just to use the grapple or other methods. There are events like hordes of goblins that can rush you in certain areas. There are so many and even large secrets within the world, especially within large runestones and other areas of interest. There are plenty of reasons to explore in order to progress, quest, resource gather, and with the movement abilities that you get right off the bat in the game, it feels really good. So with the amount of things right in the world, that would have given it a very high score. However, with the broken up world, I feel just with the way it works, it just is wrong. It's bad. I don't know how other to describe it. So unfortunately, this is going to drop the score to a 2 out of 5. Though I also have one final note. Watch out while you are in a city. NPCs can catch an illness and spread them to you. I had some bitch cough in my face, and the next thing I knew, I was coughing up blood for 2 in-game days. There is a type of building system in this game for both freeform building, but also construction of pre-made buildings within plots on the castle grounds. Unfortunately, the system is not fully developed yet. There are some buildings that require wood bundles, for an example, and that item isn't in the game right now, so it's impossible to build these certain items. The free building system is a good foundation, but missing a lot of elements. It's a building mode that you can turn on, different items are categorized, you can place them wherever you want on the grounds, you can rotate them however you want, though I do have an issue that there's no way to remove them or pick them back up after being placed, at least none that I saw. So there's an issue that I saw, being that it's either not there to remove items or it's not as visible. Another issue is that you cannot build outside of the grounds, but you are supposed to. You are told in the hints and text that you should be able to build items outside of the castle grounds, whether you're in the woods or anywhere else, but that they just won't be saved the next time you return to the area. And that's fine, it makes sense. But I can't even place items at all, and that's the issue. Even the ones that glow green instead of red, it says I'm not allowed to place items there. So no campfires for me. Now with crafting, harvesting, every form of it is a mini game. Most of them are click at the right time kind of games, while others are quick time events to hit the correct button at the right time. There is even a studying minigame to match up Nordic runes, which will award you experience points in whatever skill that you are learning about. With the exception of fishing, all harvests will be resources given to you even if you fail clicking at the minigame, but if you succeed at the game, then you get extra experience and extra resources. Fishing is the only one you have to be exact or you will fail to catch the fish. Crafting is the same as the resource gathering. If you fail the minigame, you will still get the item, but by succeeding the minigame, you get more powerful items in return. Cooking is the biggest piece of shit right now though. It's similar to Breath of the Wild where you throw in random items and hope you get a recipe right. The only good thing about it is that if you fail, you get your resources back. The issue lies with finding out the recipes. I have yet to learn any new recipes outside of the tutorial. They might be out there, but I've not seen them yet. And by throwing items in, you don't know what items, how many of each, so it's very easy to fail. You would think by throwing in just some chicken meat, it would just simply cook into a cooked chicken. Nope, you can't even cook single items. They have to be full-on dishes that require multiple items of various quantities. And lastly, farming. I think that there is farming in this game from what I saw, because I saw farming plots in the building mode, but I didn't really play around with it, so I'm not gonna comment on it. Overall, I like the various minigames and the different aspects of it, to the gathering and the crafting. I absolutely hate cooking. And the building as of right now, again, I will say this a few more times, but it is unfinished. So this can and will be changed in the future, but as of right now, it's still super early access, and this section is going to have to be a 2 out of 5. The PvE is really fun in this game. You have the ability to go into any form of combat that you wish, from weapons like swords and axes, to range attacks with bows or guns. You also have many forms of magic: pyromancer, chiromancer, druidism, arcane, and so many more. I myself recreated my original character and tried to make that build which would fit him the best. So my character wielded a two-handed sword for up-close combat, but I would mostly fight with ice magic and druidism. I was a bit disappointed though, as I was hoping for the option to fully turn into a bear and fight as a bear, but unfortunately it's just a single ability that turns you into a bear for a single attack and then shifts you back. Though I can still run around as a wolf for about a minute. Now chiromancy, those spells are super fucking powerful. If you are subbed to me, you probably have seen the short that I posted. While my sword does maybe a third of the damage for basic creatures, my ice spells, like the ice spike that is just instantly kills any enemy because it causes them falling damage as well. Though I will say, watch where you step, as even if you cast the ice spell, you can slip on your own spell. I've slipped on my own ice path and flew into a ragdoll, which is hilarious. You can even use the grapple hook to yoink enemies and pull them to you, which is beneficial against flying enemies like the rocket goblins. There are a ton of other options out there that are grayed out, so I don't know if that's because you unlocked them through playthrough like the vampirism or something, or if they're just unfinished, but that just lets you know that there's so much more to come. I would say my only issue right now is that I'm finding some of the combat too easy. Between my ice spells and my ice tomb spell, which does massive AoE damage, I have not died a single time in my hours of playing. I've tried to go to a few various areas in the world, and they were just all my level or lower than me, so maybe I just haven't explored the right areas yet to find the stronger monsters, but I would also like for the chance to have a random mini-boss come across. Though there are already world events, like the one in a fort that you can find in one of the first areas, that the longer you sit around, a horde of goblins will rush the fort and come after you, though it's still fairly easy to handle like I was saying before. Same with the bandits who block roads and try to jump out of you. Even for certain assignments from some of the guilds that you can get where you have to go and patrol, bandits will just jump out of the bushes, but even then, when there's like 10 bandits, I just drop a tombstone on them and they die instantly. So I will say with the PvE, with the few issues I've mentioned, it's still very fun and has a lot of good laughing moments as well. With how free it is, I'm just gonna rate this section a 4 out of 5. So this section I'm not going to rate as it is still very unfinished, but from what we have, it's in the form of a main quest line, which is a bit more dynamic in the quest types than the other ones you will find out in the world. We will have to wait and see how this evolves in the future, but for now, I'm gonna go without rating it. This game, as of writing this review, is only a few days into this early access, so there is still so much more to do, add, and finish. Though it will take a while as this is only a single developer working on this game, so I'm gonna cut them a bit of slack there. We don't currently have an active roadmap with when we will get content updates, at least none that's published to the public. Though the developer himself is very active on the forums and keeping people up to date with the progress. Also, a lot of the issues that are currently in the game is acknowledged and will work itself into the first hotfix, at least according to the developer. There are a ton of issues that haunt this game. Even with the developer aiming to fix the majority of the reported ones by the next patch, I'm just gonna go ahead and list what I personally saw in my time playing this game. Sometimes the music will open up several tracks at a time, so you will hear 2 to 3 songs playing at once. Some skills are not leveling properly even while performing their actions. Now, there might be a correlation to this, but I've noticed that when my character caught the virus and was coughing like I mentioned earlier, I lagged out and even rubber banded badly. Before and after I had the virus, I was completely okay, but during it, it seemed to hurt my performance a lot. Every time I load into an area, my hotkeys are disabled, and by switching hotbars, it will fix itself, but I have to do this every single time. Unsheathing and resheathing my weapon only functions half of the time, and it's not as responsive. Climbing is also not responsive as it doesn't work 90% of the time, even while I'm unarmed. I've only crashed one time, and I was not able really to determine why. I did find an infinite money glitch where if you press shift and N at the same time, you auto-receive 1,000 gold, and you can do it as much as you want. I also had a point in the game where all interactive items were not able to be interacted with. A reload of the save fixed this though. And I had a bug, which it seems that this is happening to almost everybody, though the cause of it is unknown, but this last one is kind of annoying. So I left an area and I went to another area, and next thing I knew, all of my equipment that I had on me was just gone. Even though the appearance of it was still on my character, the item slots themselves were just completely gone, eaten up from the loading screen. So I was completely unarmed, unarmored, and even then the game was still too easy because no weapon, no armor, I didn't die a single time taking on hordes of bandits, so that was still pretty funny, but still rather annoying. A lot of these that I listed have already been acknowledged by the developer in the forums and will be fixed in the next update, but even so, it's a messy first impressions, though I never really had anything that was completely game halting or completely broken. Most of my issues were fixed with a reload, or they were just, one-time issues. That being said, I'm still going to rate this a 2 out of 5 for the messy nature of the game, as of right now. My score for the first impressions of the Bloodline is going to be a 2.6 out of 5. Yeah, it's a very rough start to this game, though for what is available and working, it's a solid foundation and very fun to play. I actually want to see this game progress and become great over time. I would love to try this game again when it has more updates and re-review it when it happens. For now, I would say if you wanted to give it a try, go ahead. I wouldn't tell people to not play this game as it's still very fun for what it is. Just be wary of all of the issues that are currently plaguing it. And that is the end of this video. If you liked my review, please subscribe to this channel as I will be making more in-depth reviews of open-world sandbox survival RPG games, including those that no one ever talks about from the deepest, darkest depths of Steam. Some games that even look like the muck at the bottom of my pond. If you have any suggestions for what game to do next, please comment below and like this video. Florida Gator Man out.